I saw a boss model this probably 25 years ago. He had a lady working for him on our team that had a son that had some special needs that kind of cropped up overnight. And so it caused her to be late some mornings or to miss more work than usual. And somehow I ended up being in the office when they're having this conversation. And he basically probes a little bit and, and gets her, he says, we're seeing more of this is what I'm seeing from my side. And I understand from you, it's your son is taking more care than you were prepared to give when you committed to being part of our team. And she said, yes. And he goes, okay, I'm willing to work with you in that regard. But when it comes time for annual pay increases, please don't expect one, because I'm going to go out of the norm and let you miss more than I'm going to let all the other employees miss. And I'm going to give you a little more flexibility than I give all the other employees. But you're going to keep the job here. You're going to have to burn off your personal time. You're going to probably have to save your vacation time to take care of your son. And I'll give you the occasional, come in tardy or call in at the last minute or whatever. But don't expect a stellar performance review and don't expect a pay raise. And that's the best I can do. And that was, could he have done more? Could he have done it differently? For a former Marine, I thought that was really
step in the right
really
direction.
big of him, right?
What was the reaction?
And she took it hard in the first few seconds, sure. But then she got quiet. She goes, "That's fair."
Yeah, well, and it brings the other person up. The other person then can decide, well, I may come in late, but if I have to come in late, I'm going to stay late. Now you're having a conversation. Hey, if I had to come in 20 minutes late, well, can I still be on the list to get a raise if I stayed late? Now you're in conversation, right? Now you're in a dialogue instead of a direction, and I think that's crucially important. And then and I think there's then the aspect of when we let people go. How do we do that in a way that honors our faith?
Mm. Well, before the step of letting them go, I had another client. I consider him a friend these days, but probably 8-10 years ago, he had an employee that was really gone off the rails, like was crossing ethical lines and other stuff. And but rather than fire him, because he had been bold about, hey, I'm a person of faith, he's trying to show a little bit of grace in the situation. So he said, look, it's Friday morning. You've blown it. You don't seem to really care. And these are my words, not his, because I'm trying to protect, because some people listening might be able to figure it out if I give too much information. Anyway, he says, I'm sending you home with pay. Maybe it was a Thursday. I'm going to pay you to be off tomorrow, Friday. And I'm going to pay you to think about your contribution here, what you'd like to contribute here, what you'd like to look like this going forward, and your thoughts around this situation. I'm going to put my thoughts together, and we're going to have a meeting on Monday. And I want to hear what you have to say, but I want you to put it in writing, and what you're willing to contribute going forward, and how would you like to continue to work together. And I'm going to make my notes. And at the end of the meeting, I'll make a decision. And I thought, what a honorable way to give them a weekend to reflect, pay them on Friday, just stay home, don't come to work, think through this. This is a big deal, but I'm not going to fire you on the spot. I'm willing to extend grace. I'm willing to extend forgiveness, but we're going to decide on Monday, but I'm going to hear first what you have to say. And I thought that was huge.
I think that the crux of this for me is not that there's this formula that we can say, here's 7 biblical principles to being a marketplace ministry and not a motto-driven ministry. So I just want to be really clear on that. And it's not to say that there aren't people who need to be fired. There are people who need to be fired, but as they're being fired, they need to be fired with the recognition that they're created in the Imago Dei. And by the way, the verse that you were, reading with your Bible study this morning about you're God's masterpiece, it applies to them just as much as it applies to you. and you need to help them discover their masterpiece. Right? I think that the question is, in all of these different things, are we struggling with these questions? Or we become so content with, I'm a believer running an ethical business and I can quote a bunch of Bible verses, therefore I'm in marketplace ministry. And to me, that just doesn't cut it. We have massive impact as leaders, as business owners, in the lives of people. And when I read the word, it tells me that every time I have interaction with someone and every time I have influence and impact in their life, I have the opportunity to be a reflection of the glory of God or a deflection of the glory of God. I'd rather make a little less money and have the glory of God somehow reflected through me despite my brokenness, and there's plenty of it, than to find myself on the other side of the coin.
I had a leader and a boss one time say, he says, you mentioned hire slow. You mentioned how we hire and how we fire matters. And his thoughts around that was, he said, I believe, and this was his belief, that I'm going to have to stand before God one day and give an account for everybody that I hired that I shouldn't have, and that I fired that I should have kept. And he goes, that really weighs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a transformative moment for me, like that. The fact that we have to stand before God and give an account for everything is terrifying. But it's a healthy fear of God. And so for me, I was serving on staff at a church on the executive team, and it may not seem like it after this conversation, but for most of my early years and younger years, and not till that long ago, most people would tell you I did not have the gift of mercy. I was out of line, you're out, right? I was very much cut and dried, very much living within the parameters of what's legal and how do we build the best organization. Generally, that was about promoting myself even more than anything, if I'm honest. But God had been working on me. And so I was on staff at this church and just been praying for a while. God, I just want to be a better pastor. I want to be a better shepherd to people. And I was praying that and thinking about people in the congregation. And one of those handful of times when I just felt like God, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I'm not a big God said, like I don't go in that direction, but I woke up in the middle of the night. It was one of those times when, man, it was just, the message was really clear. And it was this: how can you pastor your people if you can't pastor your staff and you're not willing to do that? And it radically shifted things for me. And that's where a lot of this flows out. I realized I was demanding things of staff that I might not talk to them for 2 or 3 weeks and then come in, and because I had the ability and the position to come in and go, hey, I need this, or hey, I need this. And I just changed it. You know, it was a simple change every week, making sure I spoke to every single person on our team. Walk in, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do for you? That one simple step began to change my leadership and begin to change everything. And so the realization of it starts the closest to us and it expands out from there. And so I think the same thing is true in marketplace ministry. It starts with our team and our people and how we love them and how we care for them. And then it overflows to our vendors and our clients and our other people. And my fear is and I've seen it, but when I see organizations that are holding to this marketplace ministry sort of theme, but their thinking on it is almost completely focused outwardly and not inwardly on how they're caring for their people.
Yeah, there's an organization was started by a business owner who helped launch it called His Way at Work. And he said what they found in various organizations, various size companies, is the employees are like, well, great, we're digging wells in Africa, but I need a new tire on my car, right? And so what they realized was we got to start at home, and care for our employees. And if we care for them well, then they'll help us care for the community well and the world better. But if we're off, doing these wonderful things in a third world country, are those needed? Yes. Are they good? Yes. But the employees were almost negative about the opportunity to bless somebody on the other part of the planet, when they're like, I'm paying my bills and I'm showing up on time, and my tire blew out last week and I'm running on a spare and I don't know where to get the cash to get the new tire. And so they're like, we had to shift our focus to, like, you woke up in the middle of the night. If you're not taking care of your team, how can you expect them to take good care of their people?
And now you're talking about a place where we've gone to a full other extent here, right? Which is in being disruptive and living out my faith in the marketplace. There are possibilities that there are times that to do that, you have to spend time, effort, whatever, to still fit within the world standards legally.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be an example, because you can run into, if you start providing this for them, well, now you've got additional taxes, there's a trickle down of these things that can begin to flow out of that. But here's the beauty. There's also solutions to those things.
Mm-hmm.
If you're willing to go out there and do the work to do that. And I know of a similar story of an organization who they had an employee who had a child who was sick, and the employee actually ended up leaving the organization. Their child was sick, was having to go to treatments every week. I mean, it was a serious sickness, and they were mounting all these medical bills. But because they were an employee, they didn't want to deal with all the hurdles of trying to, help them and taxes and all these kind of things. But at the same time, the organization was doing something for, I believe it was St. Jude's or something, a raise for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the employee was finally like, I'm in need right here. Hey, do you see me?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think it's one of the beauties of the gospel. And the stories we see in reading the gospels is, yes, Jesus healed people. All those things are great. But part of what makes his healing so powerful when you look at the individual stories is some of those were people that the healing, as much as anything, was that they were seen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That Jesus saw them. The man who's been at the well of Bethesda sitting there for years, and Jesus sees him.
Mm-hmm.
The woman with the issue of blood has been stuck in her home, and Jesus sees her. I want the people I work with to know that they're seen,
mm-hmm.
not just when they do well, but all the time, because they're created in the Imago Dei, in the image of God. Their worth is great. Their dignity is great. And part of my calling in getting to be a leader is, how do I draw out as much in them for the glory of God as possible with whatever gifts, talents, and resources I have.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when we start living in a different place.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of A Leader's Journey podcast. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to our channel.